Hi guys, my name is Isa. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about how to start loving yourself. Let's get started. Before starting my healing journey, I had this huge breakdown because I realized I don't love myself. And not only did I realize I don't love myself, I also realized I don't know how to love myself. All my parents taught me was self-criticism, judgment, people-pleasing, not having boundaries, not speaking up for myself. If anything, being scared of people. Anything but self-love. And then I go on social media and all I can see is affirmations, take yourself out on dates, buy yourself flowers. All of that is lovely, but it doesn't address the root cause of why you don't love yourself. How can I teach myself how to love myself? And how can I teach myself how it feels to be loved by myself if nobody has taught me that? If I was taught the exact opposite of how to love myself, how can I do that? If you are someone who has lived their entire life not loving themselves, you are a witness that lack of self-love is painful. Hating your reflection is painful. Seeing yourself as a failure is painful. Seeing yourself as not only the second option, but the last option is painful. I want you to visualize self-love as you're giving yourself love and you're also receiving love. So you're actively receiving love, you're actively feeling loved. Now let's visualize lack of self-love. You are not giving love, and in the same way, you are not receiving love. So you are actively not receiving love. That is not why it's painful. The reason why lack of self-love is painful is because of the meaning that you give it. What do I mean by that? You see yourself not receiving love, or you see yourself unable to love yourself, and you think, if I'm not being loved by other people or I'm not being loved by myself, that must mean that I'm unlovable, I don't deserve love. The idea that you have of yourself, that's what's painful. How does lack of self-love look like, or how does it feel like? Honestly, I don't even need to describe it. I think everybody who watches this video has experienced that. It doesn't need me to describe it, but it looks like constant self-criticism, people pleasing. You find yourself in relationships where you lack boundaries. You're so scared of people leaving your side because you think if they leave, nobody else is going to be next to me. So then you put up with toxic behavior. You put up with people who are actually not making you feel loved at all, but you're just so scared of the idea of them leaving you and then realizing I'm alone because I'm unlovable. At its core, it's just this deep belief that there is something wrong with you. By now, you've probably heard how everyone deserves love and how everyone deserves to be respected and everyone deserves a happy life. But then you see yourself and you feel like you don't deserve love, but then everyone around you does. So what is so wrong with you? Why are you the one person in the whole world that doesn't deserve love? There must be something wrong with you. And that's why it's painful, because you look at yourself as someone who's flawed, as someone who's broken. And I want you to realize a lot of this comes from receiving conditional love when you're a kid. What is conditional love? You needed to earn love. You needed to earn acceptance from your parents. Maybe you needed to do this by getting good grades. Maybe you needed to do this by cleaning the house. Maybe you needed to do this by not getting in trouble at school. You actively needed to do something to experience the positive side of your parents. And I will give you my most personal example. I grew up with an one parent, which is someone who's obsessed with diet and exercise and losing weight. And he conditioned the love that he would give me based on how much I would exercise, how well was I following the diet, how many pounds was I losing in a week. If I was actively losing weight, I would experience a father who was proud of me and who was very loving and who was present. And then if I didn't lose weight, or if I didn't follow the diet, or if I didn't exercise, he would ignore me, he would distance himself from me, he would be super strict. And I started learning, I'm going to be loved if I follow the diet, I'm going to be loved if I exercise. So I never experienced love from my father for just being myself. I never experienced love for just eating whatever I wanted to eat or doing whatever I wanted to do. I would only be loved if I did exactly what he wanted me to do. If you experience conditional love, I am so sorry. I think that is why you don't love yourself, because you don't see yourself as someone who deserves love, but you see yourself as someone who needs to earn love. And if you need to earn love, you're by definition not lovable by just being yourself. So here's my question. Are you experiencing lack of self-love, or are you conditioning your existence the same way someone else did? A lot of people don't realize how impactful all of what our parents did has been in your life, but that is your world. What you experienced as a child, that is how you see the world. because that was your entire world. You know, you are born, you are in this family, and you are seeing how people eat, and you think that is how people are supposed to eat. You are seeing your parents get angry and screaming, and you think that's how people act when they're angry. Everything that you learned comes from your childhood. For example, and this is something I saw on social media. I thought it was pretty interesting. How your parents would talk about other people is how you think people are talking about you, because that's what you experienced. So if your parents gave you conditional love, if you had to earn love based on your grades, based on your behavior, based on your looks, that stuck with you. And you grow up and you think, this is how life is supposed to be. I'm supposed to earn love. I'm supposed to look this way. I'm supposed to act this way, get this much money, get my degree, whatever. It just becomes so exhausting because then your whole life is about you earning love. Think about it. Why would you see yourself as someone who's by nature lovable if you had to earn love? It doesn't make sense. As a kid, you're not gonna think, oh, my parents are not loving me because there's something wrong with them. You're gonna have that realization years later, maybe after therapy. But as a child, you're going to think, if my parents are not loving me, it's because there's something wrong with me. And then you grow up with that. So that is the root cause of lack of self love. You see yourself as someone who's unlovable, not because you are unlovable, but because your parents taught you or someone else taught you that you needed to earn love, that there was something wrong with you. So you needed to go above and beyond, you needed to do the extra mile just to be loved, just to have the bare minimum of love. And that happens so early in your life that you don't realize it started with your parents. You think that's just how life is. I spent my whole life, since I was like 9 years old, I think, thinking, is this going to make me fat? How many calories do I have left? Feeling guilty after every meal, thinking I have to exercise. If I don't exercise, I'm gonna be in trouble. Like, I had this major goal of losing weight my whole life, and I never questioned where it came from. I only thought, this is my life. Because as far as I can remember, I've always had this desire to lose weight. That has been my goal since always. That's what my life has been since I can remember. I literally had to sit down and question myself, why do I want to lose weight? Is that my desire? Why did I start? Was I really 9 years old thinking, oh, I want to lose weight? Or did someone influence me? And that's why it feels like you're unlovable by nature, because that's as far as you can remember. Life has always been like this. You've always been earning love. That's just how life is. And after doing all of that, like mental gymnastics, and realizing this comes from childhood, I think most of the things come from childhood, to be honest. But I started asking myself, is it lack of self-love or is it a negative self-concept? Self-concept is the idea you have of yourself, so a negative self-concept would be thinking of yourself as someone who's unlovable. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think you lack self-love because you have a negative self-concept. Why would you love yourself if by nature you see yourself as someone who doesn't deserve love? It makes no sense. Your mind won't do it because it's inconsistent with what you believe. You see yourself as someone who's unlovable, so you think, I don't deserve love, I'm not gonna love myself. That's why it comes so easy for you to immediately reject yourself when you see yourself in the mirror, or reject yourself when you just think of yourself. Loving yourself would contradict the identity that you were giving, and the identity that you give yourself every single day by repeating what your parents or someone else said to you. That means that you need to change the idea of yourself, your self-concept, so that loving yourself becomes consistent with the identity that you give yourself. How do you do that? You need to break down the identity they built for you and the identity that you give yourself every day. I literally had to sit down and say, why do I have to lose weight? Why? Not only why do I want, but why do I have to lose weight? To be loved? And then I started thinking, my mom loves me even if I don't lose weight. My sister loves me. My friends love me. All my ex-boyfriends love me. My pets love me. Like, all of the love that I've received from my loved ones has nothing to do with my weight. The only person that would limit their love based on my weight was my father, and then me, because I was following everything he did. But when I realized I actually don't need to lose weight to be loved, I can stay at my current weight and I would still find myself in the relationship I find myself in. I would still have my friendships. I would still be in contact with my mom, with my sister. Like, I actually don't have to lose 20 pounds. And that's when I stopped demanding that for myself. When I realized I actually don't have to do it. You don't have to get 100% on your schoolwork to be loved. I promise you, your friends don't care. And if they do, you should get better friends. You don't need to do anything. other than being who you are to be loved. And if you find yourself in an environment where you have to do something to be loved, change environments as soon as possible. But if you find yourself in an environment where you are loved, where you have a partner, where you have your friends, where you have a not so toxic side of your family supporting you, you have to realize you don't have to go above and beyond to be loved. You don't have to do all of that to be loved. So the next time that you think, I need to do that to be loved, I need to say the right thing, you don't have to say the right thing to be loved. You don't have to say the right thing to have friends, to be in a relationship. You don't have to put yourself down or people please to be loved either. Break down every condition. Every condition that you've been given and that you find yourself currently giving yourself on, you need to do this to be loved, you have to break it down. You need to give yourself actual evidence on how you're going to be loved even if you don't meet those conditions. Once you start breaking those conditions and once you start literally spelling it out for yourself, literally, if that means that you have to write it several times, I am loved even if I don't lose weight. I am loved even if I don't get that job. I am loved regardless. I deserve love. Just because my parents were unable to love me, that does not mean that I am less deserving of love. You have to reframe all of those negative things in such a way that you realize you do deserve love, you are loved, you are someone who's so lovable, and the only reason why you've spent so long not loving yourself is because you didn't know. I am so sorry that you had that experience. You know, I know how it feels. It is so exhausting thinking that you have to do something to be loved and then feeling like you're constantly failing at achieving it. I hope that this video helps you realize that you don't have to meet those conditions anymore. You don't have to be perfect at something or to lose weight and be the prettiest or be the skinniest or be the strongest. You don't have to any of that to be loved. And I am so sorry that your parents were not able to love you the way that you deserve to be loved. I'm so sorry that you did not grow up in an environment where you were unconditionally loved, but I hope that you're able to experience the rest of your life in an environment where you are unconditionally loved, starting with yourself. So realize that you don't need any conditions to be loved. And if thinking that you need no conditions to be loved is harsh, give yourself the most basic conditions. I deserve to be loved because I'm a human. That's a condition. If the condition is wanting to be loved, oh, I want to be loved, boom, condition met, I love myself. Like, make it as easy for yourself as you can. Like, meet yourself where you're at. Obviously, those affirmations are not going to work the day to the next. That's why you need to address those conditions, break them down, give yourself a new identity. It's gonna take time. I think I spent a hot minute journaling, like several journal entries, just being like, I don't have to lose weight, I am loved. I did like a T-chart to compare my life losing weight and not losing weight, and I would write like, my mom loves me, my mom loves me, my sister loves me, and I realized my life wouldn't be that much different if I had lost weight or if I didn't lose weight. Once you start challenging those conditions and once you realize you don't need to meet any conditions to be loved, I think that's the first step of loving yourself. And yes, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you love yourself with all your heart after this episode. Bye.